The sun hung high in the sky, casting a relentless heat over the gas station. I could feel the beads of sweat forming on my forehead as I moved briskly from pump to pump, greeting each customer with a smile that I hoped would mask the exhaustion creeping into my bones. Despite the sweltering weather and the endless stream of cars, I was determined to maintain my composure and provide the best service possible. I had just finished helping a young woman struggling with the gas pump when I noticed an elderly man slowly approaching the station. His clothes were worn and frayed, and his steps were hesitant. There was a look of worry etched on his weathered face as his eyes darted around, clearly searching for help. I could sense his anxiety even from a distance, and my heart went out to him. "Excuse me, miss," he began, his voice trembling slightly. I seem to have forgotten my wallet at home, and I don't have enough money to pay for the gas I've already pumped." I paused, my eyes locking onto his. The sincerity in his voice was unmistakable, and I could see the worry in his eyes. It wasn't just about the gas, it was a deeper, more profound concern. Without a second thought, I stepped closer to him, my expression softening. "Don't worry, sir," I said gently. "We'll figure something out." I reached into my purse, pulling out my own money. I counted out the exact amount and handed it to him with a reassuring smile. "Here, take this. You can pay me back whenever you get the chance." The elderly man's eyes moistened as he took the money with shaking hands. "Thank you," he said, his voice choked with emotion. "My name is John. I promise I'll come back to pay you." "It's okay, John," I replied, my smile widening. "I trust you." As John turned to leave, I felt a sense of satisfaction wash over me. I had done the right thing, and it felt good. However, my moment of contentment was short-lived. I could hear my colleagues, who had been watching the scene unfold, begin to murmur among themselves. "Are you serious?" one of them scoffed. "You actually believe that old man? He's probably just scamming you." "Yeah," another chimed in, smirking. "There are always swindlers around here. You've just been played, Sarah." I took a deep breath, turning to face them. "I believe in giving people the benefit of the doubt," I said firmly. "Not everyone is out to deceive. Sometimes people just need a little help." My colleagues exchanged skeptical glances but said no more. I watched John walk away, his steps a bit steadier, a small piece of paper with his name and address clutched in his hand as a promise of his return. Despite the disdain of my peers, I felt a mix of hope and trepidation, knowing I had done what I felt was right. The rest of the day passed in a blur of heat and activity. Every customer I helped seemed to remind me of the encounter, and the small act of kindness I had extended. As the sun began to set, casting long shadows across the pavement, the gas station finally quieted down. I took a moment to rest, leaning against the counter inside the station. The cool air was a welcome relief from the oppressive heat outside. Just then, Mr. Wilson, my manager, approached me. His stern expression made my heart sink. "Sarah," he said, his tone neutral but with an edge to it, "I heard about what happened today. Did you really take money from the register?" I straightened up, meeting his gaze. "No, Mr. Wilson," I replied, my voice steady. "I used my own money. That gentleman needed help, and I believed him." Mr. Wilson sighed, rubbing his temples. "I understand your intentions, but we have rules for a reason. If we make exceptions, it could lead to bigger problems." "I know," I said softly, "but I did what I felt was right." Mr. Wilson's expression softened slightly, but his decision was clear. "I appreciate your sentiment, but we can't afford to operate on trust alone. It's too late now. I'm afraid I have no choice but to let you go." The weight of his words hit me like a blow to the chest. I felt tears welling up, but I blinked them back, refusing to let them fall. "I understand," I said quietly, "but I don't regret what I did." Mr. Wilson nodded curtly. "You can collect your things and leave. I'll process your final paycheck." As I gathered my belongings, my mind raced with thoughts of what would come next. The simple act of kindness that had felt so right in the moment now seemed to carry a heavy price. But even as I walked out of the gas station, I held my head high, knowing that I had stayed true to my values. The drive home from the gas station felt like an eternity. Each mile seemed to stretch longer than the last, weighed down by the heavy burden of what had just happened. I kept replaying the conversation with Mr. Wilson in my mind, hoping to find some way I could have changed the outcome. But deep down, I knew there was nothing I could have done differently. I had followed my heart, and now I had to face the consequences. When I finally pulled into the driveway, I took a deep breath and tried to compose myself. I didn't want my family to see me upset. But as soon as I stepped through the front door, my daughter, Emma, was there to greet me with her usual enthusiasm. "Mom, you're home," she exclaimed, throwing her arms around me. Her smile was a welcome sight, but it also made the news I had to deliver even harder. "Hey, sweetie," I said, hugging her back. "Where's your dad?" "He's in the kitchen," Emma replied, her eyes sparkling. "He's making dinner." I nodded and made my way to the kitchen, where my husband Tom was busy chopping vegetables. He looked up as I entered, and his expression immediately turned to concern. "Sarah, what's wrong?" he asked, setting the knife down and walking over to me. I took another deep breath, trying to steady my voice. "Tom, I got fired today." His eyes widened in shock. "What? Why? What happened?" I told him everything: the elderly man, the money, Mr. Wilson's reaction. As I spoke, the weight of the day's events seemed to lift just a little, replaced by the warmth of Tom's unwavering support. "That's ridiculous," Tom said, his voice rising with frustration. "You did the right thing. How can they fire you for being compassionate?" "I know," I replied, feeling a lump form in my throat. "But they have rules, and I broke them. I just didn't think it would cost me my job." Tom shook his head, pulling me into a comforting embrace. "We'll figure this out, Sarah. We always do." Later that evening, after Emma had gone to bed, Tom and I sat down at the kitchen table to discuss our situation. The financial strain of losing my job was undeniable, but Tom remained optimistic. "We have some savings," he said, taking my hand in his. "And I can pick up extra shifts at the hospital. We'll manage." I nodded, grateful for his support but still feeling a sense of dread. "I just hate that this happened because I tried to help someone." Tom squeezed my hand. "You did the right thing, Sarah. Don't ever doubt that. We'll get through this." The next morning, I woke up early and decided to stop by the gas station one last time. I wanted to say goodbye to my colleagues and gather my remaining belongings. As I pulled into the parking lot, I felt a mix of sadness and resolve. I walked into the station, and the familiar sounds and smells hit me with a wave of nostalgia. "Sarah, what are you doing here?" asked Jane, one of my colleagues, as she saw me enter. "I came to say goodbye," I replied, trying to keep my voice steady, "and to collect my things." Jane's eyes softened. "I'm so sorry, Sarah. We all know you did what you thought was right." "Thanks, Jane," I said, offering her a small smile. "I appreciate it." As I gathered my belongings, I heard Mr. Wilson's voice behind me. "Sarah, can I talk to you for a minute?" I turned to face him, bracing myself for another lecture. "Yes, Mr. Wilson." He sighed, looking genuinely remorseful. "I want you to know that I didn't want to fire you. But the company has strict policies and my hands were tied." "I understand," I said, though it was hard to hide the bitterness in my voice. "I just wish things could have been different." "Me too," he replied. "You're a good worker, Sarah. I hope you find something better." With that, I left the gas station, feeling a strange mix of closure and uncertainty about the future. The rules had been unforgiving, but I held on to the hope that my act of kindness would eventually lead to something good. For now, I had to focus on my family and finding a new job, but I couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning of a new chapter in my life. The days following my termination from the gas station were a blur of uncertainty and anxiety. Each morning, I awoke with a pit in my stomach, knowing that I had to face the harsh reality of our financial situation. The act of kindness that had cost me my job now weighed heavily on my conscience. Though I knew I had done the right thing, the repercussions were undeniable. Tom had already taken on extra shifts at the hospital, which meant he was often exhausted and stressed when he came home. Despite this, he remained a pillar of strength, always finding ways to encourage and support me. Emma, on the other hand, was too young to fully grasp the gravity of our situation, but she could sense the tension and worry in the air. One evening, as we sat down for dinner, Emma looked up at us with wide, innocent eyes. "Mom, are you going to find a new job soon?" she asked, her voice tinged with concern. I forced a smile, trying to reassure her. "Yes, sweetie. I'm working on it every day." Tom reached over and squeezed my hand under the table, offering silent support. "We're going to be just fine, Emma," he added. "Your mom is amazing and she'll find something great." Emma nodded, her worry easing a bit, but the question lingered in my mind long after she had gone to bed. I knew I had to stay strong for her and for Tom, but the pressure was mounting. The next morning, I decided to visit the local library to search for job listings and update my resume. As I walked through the quiet, sunlit aisles, I found a table near the back and spread out my papers. I took a deep breath and began to type, my determination fueled by the love and support of my family. Hours passed as I filled out applications and wrote cover letters, each one a small step toward regaining our stability. Despite the mounting stress, I reminded myself that giving up was not an option. As the days turned into weeks, I began to feel the weight of our situation more acutely. The bills piled up and our savings dwindled. Tom and I had several late-night conversations, trying to figure out how to make ends meet. One night, as we sat on the couch after putting Emma to bed, Tom turned to me with a look of concern. "Sarah, we need to talk about our finances," he said gently. I nodded, bracing myself for the difficult conversation. "I know, Tom. I've been trying to stretch every dollar, but it's getting harder," he sighed, running a hand through his hair. "I've been thinking about taking on even more shifts, but I'm worried about burning out. We can't keep going like this." I felt a lump form in my throat, guilt washing over me. "I'm so sorry, Tom. This is all because of me." Hey, he said, pulling me into a comforting embrace. "This is not your fault. You did what you thought was right. We'll get through this together." I leaned into his shoulder, grateful for his unwavering support. "I just hate seeing you so tired and stressed." "We'll figure it out," he said, his voice filled with determination. "We always do." The next day, as I was preparing lunch for Emma, the phone rang. I wiped my hands on a towel and picked it up, my heart racing with a mix of hope and anxiety. "Hello, this is Sarah," I answered, trying to keep my voice steady. "Hello, Sarah. This is David, John's son." The man you helped at the gas station, came the warm, familiar voice on the other end. My heart skipped a beat. "Oh, hello, David. It's nice to hear from you." "I wanted to thank you again for what you did for my father," he said sincerely. "And I also have a proposition for you." "A proposition?" I asked, curiosity piqued. "Yes," he replied. "I'd like to meet with you in person to discuss it. Are you available tomorrow?" "Of course," I said, trying to contain my excitement. "I can meet you anytime." "Great. Let's meet at the coffee shop on Main Street at 10 a.m., he suggested. "I'll be there," I promised, a sense of hope blossoming in my chest. After hanging up, I couldn't help but feel a surge of optimism. Maybe this was the break we needed. I hurried to tell Tom the news, and his face lit up with a mixture of relief and excitement. "That's fantastic, Sarah," he said, hugging me tightly. "I have a good feeling about this." As I prepared for the meeting the next day, I felt a renewed sense of purpose. I knew that whatever happened, I had my family's support, and together, we could bear the weight of any challenge that came our way. The following morning, I dressed carefully for my meeting with David. I chose a modest but professional outfit, hoping to make a good impression. As I stood in front of the mirror, I took a deep breath, steeling myself for whatever lay ahead. "Mom, you look pretty," Emma said, peeking around the corner. "Thank you, sweetheart," I replied, giving her a hug. "Wish me luck." "Good luck," she said with a big smile, her faith in me giving me strength. Tom came into the room, adjusting his tie. "You're going to do great, Sarah," he said, kissing my forehead. "Just be yourself." I nodded, feeling a mix of nervousness and determination. "Thanks, Tom. I'll call you as soon as I'm done." As I walked to the coffee shop, the crisp morning air helped to calm my nerves. I arrived a few minutes early and found a quiet table near the window. I ordered a coffee and waited, my mind racing with possibilities. A few minutes later, David walked in. He was a tall man with a kind face, and he smiled warmly when he saw me. I stood to greet him, and we shook hands. "Thank you for meeting with me, Sarah," he said, sitting down across from me. "Thank you for reaching out," I replied, grateful for the opportunity. David took a sip of his coffee, then looked at me earnestly. "My father told me about what happened at the gas station. Your kindness really touched him, and it made me realize how important it is to have people like you in our lives." I smiled, feeling a blush rise to my cheeks. "I just did what I thought was right." "Well, it meant a lot to him," David continued, "and it made me think about how we can use more people like you in our business." I raised an eyebrow, intrigued. "What do you mean?" David leaned forward, his expression serious. "I own several gas stations in the area, including the one where you used to work. I want to offer you a managerial position at one of my stations. Your compassion and dedication are exactly what we need." I was stunned. "A managerial position? Are you serious?" Absolutely, David said with a nod. I believe you're the right person for the job. You'll have a chance to make a real impact, not just on our customers, but on our team as well. Tears welled up in my eyes as I processed his words. I don't know what to say, David. This is incredible. Thank you so much. David smiled warmly. You deserve it, Sarah. I'll arrange for your training to start next week. I'm confident you'll do a fantastic job. I nodded, still in disbelief. I promise I won't let you down. I know you won't, David said, standing up and extending his hand. Welcome to the team, Sarah. I shook his hand, my heart filled with gratitude and hope. Thank you, David. I can't wait to get started. As I left the coffee shop, I felt a sense of relief and excitement wash over me. I couldn't wait to tell Tom and Emma the good news. I called Tom on my way home, barely able to contain my enthusiasm. Tom, you won't believe it, I exclaimed when he answered. Tell me everything, he said, his voice full of anticipation. I got the job, I said, tears of joy streaming down my face. David offered me a managerial position. I start training next week. That's amazing, Sarah. Tom said, his voice filled with pride. I knew you could do it. When I got home, Emma ran to greet me. Did it go well, Mom? It went better than I could have imagined, I said, lifting her into a hug. I got the job. Emma's eyes widened with excitement. Yay, Mom, I knew you would. That evening as we sat down to dinner, the atmosphere in our home had completely transformed. The weight of uncertainty had been lifted, replaced by a renewed sense of hope and optimism. Tom raised his glass, a proud smile on his face. To Sarah, for her strength and determination. We're so proud of you. I clinked my glass with his, feeling a surge of gratitude for my family. Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Emma. I couldn't have done it without you. As we ate, I felt a sense of peace settle over me. The road ahead would still have its challenges, but I knew that with the support of my family and this new opportunity, we could face anything together. The following week flew by in a blur of activity as I prepared for my new job. I spent hours at the library studying management techniques and familiarizing myself with the responsibilities of my new role. Tom and Emma were incredibly supportive, giving me the space and encouragement I needed to succeed. On the morning of my first day of training, I woke up early, filled with a mixture of nerves and excitement. I dressed in my best professional attire and made sure everything was ready. Tom and Emma joined me for breakfast, their cheerful chatter helping to calm my nerves. You're going to be amazing, Mom, Emma said, her eyes sparkling with excitement. Tom nodded in agreement. Just remember, you've got this. We believe in you. I smiled, feeling a surge of gratitude for their unwavering support. Thanks, you two. I couldn't do this without you. I arrived at the gas station a little early, wanting to make a good impression. David greeted me with a warm smile, introducing me to the team and showing me around. The station was busy, with a steady stream of customers, but the atmosphere was welcoming. Throughout the day, I shadowed David and learned the ropes. It was challenging but exhilarating. The staff was friendly and helpful, and I felt like I was finally in a place where I could make a difference. As the afternoon wore on, I was busy at the counter when I noticed a familiar figure approaching. It was John, the elderly man I had helped that day at the gas station. He looked different, more put together and confident, but there was no mistaking him. John, I exclaimed, surprised and delighted to see him. What brings you here? John smiled warmly. I heard you got a new job and I wanted to come by and say thank you again for your kindness. You really made a difference in my life. Before I could respond, David joined us, his eyes widening in recognition. John, it's good to see you. How have you been? I've been well, thanks to Sarah here, John replied, nodding towards me. She's a remarkable woman. David smiled, turning to me. Sarah, it looks like you've made quite an impression on my father. I was taken aback. Your father? John nodded, his eyes twinkling. Yes, David is my son. When I told him about what you did for me, he knew he had to meet you. I was stunned, feeling a wave of emotion wash over me. I had no idea. I'm just glad I could help. John placed a hand on my shoulder, his expression serious. You did more than help, Sarah. You restored my faith in people. That's something I'll never forget. David nodded in agreement. And that's why I knew you were the perfect person for this job. Your compassion and integrity are exactly what we need. Tears welled up in my eyes as I realized the full impact of my actions. Thank you, John. Thank you, David. I promise I won't let you down. John smiled, his eyes filled with warmth. I know you won't, and if there's ever anything you need, don't hesitate to ask. As John left, I felt a renewed sense of purpose and determination. I was more committed than ever to making a difference in my new role. The rest of the day flew by, and I couldn't wait to share the news with Tom and Emma. That evening, as I walked through the door of our home, I was greeted by their eager faces. How was your first day, Mom? Emma asked, her eyes wide with curiosity. I smiled, feeling a sense of pride and joy. It was incredible. You'll never guess who visited me at the station today. Who? Tom asked, raising an eyebrow. John, I said, still marveling at the coincidence. He's David's father. Tom's eyes widened in surprise. Really? That's amazing. Emma grinned, clapping her hands. I knew it was going to be a good day. As we sat down to dinner, I shared the details of my day, feeling more hopeful and optimistic than I had in a long time. The road ahead was still uncertain, but I knew that with the support of my family and the opportunity before me, we could face any challenge that came our way. The sun was just beginning to rise as I arrived at the gas station for my first official day as manager. The early morning light cast a golden glow over the station, making everything seem fresh and new. I took a deep breath, savoring the crisp air and feeling a sense of calm wash over me. David greeted me at the door, his usual warm smile in place. Good morning, Sarah. Ready to get started? I nodded, feeling a mix of excitement and nervousness. Absolutely, let's do this. We spent the first hour going over the day's schedule and the tasks that needed to be done. David introduced me to the various systems and procedures, ensuring I felt comfortable with everything. As the morning progressed, I began to find my rhythm, taking on more responsibilities and interacting with the staff. Around mid-morning, I gathered the team for a quick meeting. I wanted to introduce myself formally and set the tone for our work together. Good morning, everyone, I began, smiling at the group of familiar faces. I'm Sarah, and I'm excited to be working with you all. I know I'm new to this role, but I believe that together we can make this station the best it can be. There were nods and murmurs of agreement, and I felt a sense of camaraderie building. If any of you have ideas or suggestions on how we can improve, please don't hesitate to share them. I'm here to support you and ensure we all succeed. A young attendant named Jake raised his hand. Sarah, I've been thinking we could streamline the checkout process by updating our software. It's a bit outdated and slows us down during peak hours. I nodded, appreciating his initiative. Great idea, Jake. Let's look into that and see what options we have. Efficiency is key, especially during busy times. Another employee, Maria, chimed in. I'd also think we could benefit from more regular staff meetings, just to keep everyone on the same page and address any issues as they arise. I completely agree, Maria, I replied. Communication is crucial. We'll start having weekly meetings to make sure everyone is informed and involved. As the meeting wrapped up, I felt a sense of accomplishment. The team was engaged and eager to contribute, and I was determined to foster a positive and collaborative environment. Later in the day, I was working at the counter when I noticed a familiar face approaching. It was Tom, stopping by to see how my first day was going. Hey, how's it going? He asked, leaning against the counter with a smile. It's going well, I replied, feeling a surge of happiness at seeing him. The team is great, and we're already brainstorming ways to improve things around here. Tom's eyes twinkled with pride. I knew you'd do amazing. You've always had a knack for bringing people together. Thanks, Tom. Your support means everything to me, I said, reaching out to squeeze his hand. As the day continued, I found myself growing more confident in my new role. I handled customer inquiries, managed inventory, and worked alongside the team to keep everything running smoothly. By the time the evening shift arrived, I felt a deep sense of satisfaction. When I returned home that night, Emma greeted me with a hug. How was your first day, Mom? It was incredible, I replied, feeling a warmth spread through me. I think this is the start of something really special. Emma's eyes sparkled with excitement. I'm so proud of you. I knew you could do it. Tom joined us, wrapping an arm around my shoulders. We're all proud of you, Sarah. You've worked so hard, and it's paying off. As we sat down to dinner, I shared the details of my day, feeling more hopeful and optimistic than I had in a long time. The road ahead was still uncertain, but I knew that with the support of my family and the opportunity before me, we could face any challenge that came our way. That night, as I lay in bed reflecting on the day, I felt a deep sense of gratitude. This was truly a new beginning, not just for me, but for my entire family. We'd faced our share of hardships, but we had come through stronger and more united than ever. And as I drifted off to sleep, I knew that whatever the future held, we would face it together with courage and hope. The weeks following my first day as manager at the gas station flew by in a whirlwind of activity and progress. Each day brought new challenges, but also new opportunities for growth and improvement. The team quickly adapted to the changes we implemented, and I could see a noticeable difference in morale and efficiency. One bright morning, I stood in the station's small office, reviewing our monthly performance report. A smile spread across my face as I noted the improvements in customer satisfaction and sales figures. It was a testament to the hard work and dedication of the entire team. David walked in carrying 2 cups of coffee. "Morning, Sarah. How's everything looking?" "Better than ever," I replied, handing him the report. "We've made significant progress in just a few weeks." David scanned the report, nodding approvingly. "You've done an incredible job, Sarah. The team respects you, and the customers are noticing the difference too." I took a sip of my coffee, feeling a sense of pride. I couldn't have done it without their support. They've been amazing. David smiled warmly. "Leadership is about bringing out the best in people, and you've definitely achieved that. I'm glad we took a chance on you." "Thank you, David," I said sincerely. "It means a lot to hear that." Later that day, I gathered the team for our weekly meeting. The atmosphere was positive, with everyone eager to share their thoughts and ideas. "All right, everyone," I began, "let's go over our goals for the upcoming month. We've done great so far, but there's always room for improvement." Jake raised his hand. "I've noticed that our busiest times are in the mornings and late afternoons. Maybe we could adjust our staffing schedules to ensure we have more coverage during those periods." "That's a great idea, Jake," I replied. "Let's look at the data and see how we can optimize our schedules to better meet customer demand." Maria chimed in. "I've also been thinking we could start a customer loyalty program. Something simple, like a punch card for free coffee or discounts on gas after a certain number of visits." I nodded, impressed by her initiative. "I love that idea, Maria. It's a great way to build customer loyalty and encourage repeat business. Let's work on developing a plan for that." As the meeting continued, I felt a sense of fulfillment seeing the team so engaged and motivated. We were building something special together, and it was inspiring to see everyone contributing their ideas and energy. That evening, I returned home to find Tom and Emma in the kitchen, preparing dinner. The delicious aroma of a homemade meal filled the air, and I felt a wave of gratitude wash over me. "Hey, Mom." Emma greeted me with a hug. "How was your day?" "Busy but productive," I replied, kissing her on the forehead. "How about you? How was school?" Emma's eyes lit up. "It was great. I aced my math test and started a new art project." Tom wrapped an arm around my shoulders. "You've been working so hard, Sarah. We're so proud of you." "I couldn't have done it without you both," I said, feeling a lump in my throat. "Your support means everything to me." As we sat down to dinner, I shared the details of our latest achievements at the gas station, and we talked about our plans for the future. It was a moment of connection and joy, a reminder of the strength and resilience of our family. After dinner, Emma and I sat on the couch, looking through old photo albums. We laughed and reminisced about the past, cherishing the memories we had created together. "Mom," Emma said softly, "I know things were tough for a while, but I'm really proud of how you've handled everything. You're an inspiration to me." Tears welled up in my eyes as I hugged her tightly. "Thank you, sweetheart. That means the world to me, and you inspire me every day with your strength and kindness." As the evening drew to a close, I reflected on the journey we had been on. From the uncertainty and fear of losing my job to the hope and excitement of this new beginning. We had come a long way. The future was still uncertain, but I felt a renewed sense of confidence and determination. In the quiet moments before bedtime, Tom and I sat together, holding hands and talking about our dreams for the future. "Sarah," he said, looking into my eyes, "no matter what happens, we'll face it together. I believe in you, and I believe in us." I smiled, feeling a deep sense of love and gratitude. "Thank you, Tom. I couldn't ask for a better partner. We've got this." As I lay in bed that night, I felt a sense of peace and optimism. We were embracing the future with open hearts and minds, ready to face whatever challenges and opportunities lay ahead. And with the support of my family and the strength of our bond, I knew we could overcome anything.